Perfect. Perfect.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Reaction Therapy. I'm your resident psychotherapist, Tom Stevens, here for a special breakdown of an interview with Herbo, talking about PTSD and its real-life effects on him. I cannot believe how good and how informative and just deep this interview was with what he's been through in life and what he's experienced. And I couldn't help but react to it because it means so much to me in the work I do as a mental health professional. As a psychotherapist, I see people all the time that have experienced PTSD, sometimes this month, sometimes 30 years ago. And it's important to understand what the impacts are of it. And Herbo does a great job in this interview as a real life person, just explaining what PTSD has meant in his life and what therapy has meant. So I can't wait to dive into this. Thank you for allowing Reaction Therapy to be what it is today. Nick and I are so grateful for you. It's a huge, close-knit family, and it's awesome. Go over to Patreon. Go to YouTube with the new memberships we have there and check them out because we have extra content, live streams, and more ways for you to be involved and around Reaction Therapy if you want to support this channel in a new way because it's pretty cool. But without further ado, let's get into this. Herbo talks PTSD.
Congratulations on this new album.
Thanks, man.
Like, the album's name is PTSD. How did you come up with the concept and title for this project?
Really acknowledging myself that I have PTSD and with really being clinically diagnosed with PTSD and trying to spread awareness on the fact that people don't really realize that they have PTSD.
Yes.
So it was real important for me, like, shed light on that because it affects my life on a day-to-day basis and so many other people, you know.
Day to day.
How did making this album help cope?
Day-to-day basis, recognize that. And this is a real-life rapper that's successful and has recognized, man, the PTSD, it's not that I walk around scared all the time. People think PTSD, like, panic attacks. It doesn't have to be that. It can just be underlying anxiety that you live with day after day. It could be a sound you hear, somebody's voice, a car crash, a song on the radio, a smell in the air. There's so many different ways to get triggered back to old situations involving PTSD.
What was your diagnosis?
Definitely therapeutic to get a lot of stuff off my chest that I didn't, know that I wasn't able to, So music always was like a form of therapy for me anyway.
Amen.
Like,
there you
that's actually why I did it. That's why I started rapping, because I was able to like tell my story in a way where it kind of like, it made me feel better.
Yeah, does understanding your diagnosis.
Everybody doesn't have to go to therapy all the time. It never hurts if it's good, y'all. Therapy never hurts if it's good. But what he's saying is, I found an outlet. That was music for me. Sometimes people find exercise as an outlet. Sometimes it's journaling. Sometimes it's plant gardening out in the yard. There's a lot of different outlets that can be soothing and healing for you. And what he's saying is music was an outlet, but it wasn't enough for me, I think is what's coming.
Diagnosis changed the way you make music?
I don't really try intentionally to make music about that. You know what I'm saying? Like it just come off naturally because it's my life, like my lifestyle. Like I really suffer from PTSD. It affects my train of thought every single day. I just got a strong mind where I'm able to understand.
Yeah, there you go.
Why was it important to seek professional help with a therapist versus just relying on music?
I think it was important for me to talk to somebody who's never been through the stuff that you've been through.
There you go.
Talking to my therapist, I was telling her certain stuff and she couldn't believe it. You know what I'm saying? Like I was so nervous my first therapy session.
This is the truth. You can get a person that's outside your bubble. A therapist is not a friend. They're not a family member. They're not a pastor. They're not a teacher. They're not anybody who's connected in your world other than that one time, that one place in their office. And they're there to support you and they're there to guide you. They're there to do multiple things, not just to say you're awesome, you're amazing, and always just say you're right and everything's great. They're there to be honest with you, like where you're stuck, where you need to make changes, where you can do things that will help, but they're also there to be compassionate, to support you. And interesting. So he's talking about doing therapy. This is so cool.
I was telling her certain stuff and she couldn't believe it. You know what I'm saying? Like I was so nervous my first therapy session, I cracked my ID in half just talking to her about that I've been through. You know what I'm saying? I literally split my ID in half just talking to her. She told me, you have PTSD. It is a sickness, a mental illness. You know what I'm saying? Like the way you think, and I had to really get naked with her in a sense. Like every day I left out the house, I really felt like I was gonna die, or I could go.
We've talked about that before. It's like being naked in front of a room full of clothed people. That it's vulnerable. It's hard. It's not easy. He cracked his ID. He's kind of had his ID in his hand, I guess, in that first session. And he's probably just bending it and kind of just the nervous, with your hands. And then snap. That's how stressed and intense it was for him being able to tell his stories. But sometimes it's therapeutic just to tell the story to somebody like that. And then sometimes it's really therapeutic to hear their viewpoint, their opinion, and their recommendation to you of here's what we can do now that you've been through this. Because your PTSD is from the past. It's not stuff you're having to experience anymore, at least sometimes, unless it's like an abusive relationship you're still in. But for him, it sounds like it's in the past what he grew up with.
Go to jail for protecting myself. It's important to just talk to somebody, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of times we block that intuition and block that in the back of our head because we desensitized by it. We think it's normal. So she was there to tell me, no, it's not normal.
Yeah. Now you have gone to seek professional help. How do you feel now?
It helps, but I still feel the same a lot of times, you know what I'm saying? I know all my steps have to be calculated. I can't.
It's very possible he hasn't had EMDR. It's possible he hasn't had trauma therapy. Like they might have diagnosed it and had some insight to it, but he might not have actually desensitized the brain to it, which is what EMDR would do, and help him to not be so triggered by those things that happened so long ago. So when he says it's still there, that means it hasn't cleared out. That means there are things that happen today that still remind him and trigger back to the old trauma. It can be healed. It can be worked with, but it's either that he didn't have a super long bout of treatment or that they didn't do certain treatment methods that could help with the trauma, because you can identify trauma, but until you clear it out, which is what really EMDR would do, eye movement desensitization reprocessing, that would actually help clear some of that out. That he's going to still have triggers, but learning coping skills to deal with the triggers and having resources built in your brain to deal with it is good.
Can't get too comfortable, you know what I'm saying? Because I come from one of the most violent neighborhoods in Chicago. I come from one of the worst neighborhoods in the whole city of Chicago. And the stuff that we up against, we so desensitized by it, we don't even know that it's a problem. You know what I'm saying? So like,
I was talking about being the brain, desensitizing the brain to the trauma you went through, but he's saying, man, we grew up in a violence all over the place every day that we got desensitized to that. It was just a part of what we lived with. But you know what he's realizing, or at least I'm realizing, it wasn't desensitized to it. They lived with it, but that's shock. It's what that is. You learn, like, when you get in an accident, your arm's bleeding. Somebody's like, are you okay? Your arm's bleeding. And you don't feel it. That's shock. So he, as a young child, just grew up with kind of a constant state of shock where he dissociated is the term for it. And when you dissociate, you kind of numb away. And it's almost like you'll see people just stare off into the distance, or they'll go to an alternate place because they can't let themselves deal with the reality of life, or it's too painful.
Being exposed to murder and addiction and all of that stuff early on. Like, we so desensitized by the reality of what's going on. It's normal. I've seen murders. I've been shot, and I left out the house the next day to go to school, and I was just smart enough to pass the test the next day. But a lot of these kids aren't able to because they still fighting these inner demons, you know what I'm saying? And they don't even realize, they don't even know that you suffer from a mental illness when you encounter these things, because it affects your day-to-day life. You don't want to walk to the store, you scared you're going to get shot. You don't want to walk to school, you scared you're going to get shot, you know what I'm saying? So it's important for me to spread light on that and not only talk about the cause and effect, but try to bring solution to the situation too. Like, I really think schools should.
That's, he was just smart enough to pass. This is so true. All of them went through it. All the kids were doing that, but some intellectually just couldn't pass. It was too traumatizing and too stressful, so they couldn't pass. He was just smart enough in spite of the trauma and tragedy to pass, but it made it look like he wasn't affected by it, but he was.
Have a therapist. School should have somebody that's going to actually have with your day. Because a lot of these kids, they don't have a sense of family, a sense of none of that at home. When they're in school, that's the only love they're going to feel. Sometimes that's the only meal. That's the only clean, safe environment that they have. And it's only for 8 hours out of your day.
Yeah, even in the cover, man, we felt that a lot.
Schools should have a therapist. I believe in that. We don't do anything for mental health in schools. We need to do so much more.
Like, you're holding a flag with some of the faces of the people that you've lost. Can you explain the inspiration behind that?
Goodness.
I wanted to bring people into my world, my reality. I'm 24 years old. It's 50 stars on that flag, but I could have put 60. I could have probably put 70. You know what I'm saying? Like,
my goodness.
These are people who I shared meals with, who I slept on the couches with. These are my best friends, mothers, uncles, you know what I'm saying, stuff like that. I got Juice WRLD on the cover.
Yeah.
You know, like, I think the
there we go.
families, they appreciate it because it's not about me glorifying it. You know what I'm saying? I'm just bringing light to the situation that what is going on here is not normal. You know what I'm saying? And something needs to give in these situations. And I'll make the sacrifice to, you know what I'm saying, try to bring change. You know?
You want more?
So good that he would step out and make a statement like that publicly about trauma, about PTSD, about mental illness, because it's not the in thing to do. It's not the cool thing to do, but it is in our world today. We need to pay attention to that. Kudos to you. This is awesome, G Herbo.
Realized Juice WRLD on the cover, like you said. You called him a baby Michael Jackson.
I've been calling him that since I met him.
Yeah, what did he mean to the city of Chicago?
Chicago, never seen an artist like a Juice, young and on top of the world, talented at that, you know what I'm saying, and really like reach this big level of stardom so fast, you know what I'm saying, and knowing how to deal with it. Like, he was excellent when it came to really dealing with the fame, and you know what I'm saying, like, I think just coming from Chicago and the stuff, you behave yourself a certain way, you know what I'm saying, just because you don't take it for granted, because the stuff that you had to encounter before you got there, you know what I'm saying, in Chicago don't see that.
To appreciate where you've come from and where you are now. Like he said, we don't take it for granted. And Juice was so great at that, at appreciating, being humble with what he had because he knows where he came from. And wow, what a cool thing. Wonder when this was done.
On your Instagram post, when you eulogized him, you said you remember those talks with him. Like, do you remember, can you share some of what those talks were about?
Yeah, I used to always talk to him about, like, real life, like, you know what I'm saying? He used to, like, look at me like a big brother, so sometimes he would pull me to the side and be like, what you feel about this? I would tell him, you got to take control of your life, bro. Control how you set the tone for your career, set the tone for your relationship, set the tone for everything you do, because it's your life, it's your legacy, it's your destiny to fulfill, you know what I'm saying? Like, help him with anything he do, regardless of his music or whatever. If you instill certain morals in you, no task is really too hard.
I know you're setting the tone.
Isn't it funny that he's talking here? He's 24 years old and he's got so much wisdom and so much maturity and so much great information. And it's got to break his heart what happened to Juice WRLD, because he had so much talent and he was like a big brother to Juice. He's 24. He's like a big brother to Juice. And I know it had to devastate him to see that happen, because he's giving him that wisdom. He said, this is what I was talking to him about. You've got to be able to do this. And oh, so sad.
Tone lyrically and musically, the So Chicago freestyle.
Yeah.
You say you're trying to restore the hip hop feeling and mix facts with it. What do you think has been missing in hip hop?
Hip hop has been missing from hip hop, you know what I'm saying? Like, real substance, you know what I'm saying? Talking about something and it being competitive, making mistakes, vulnerability. Like, that's what hip hop was, you know what I'm saying? Hip hop was somebody 9 times out of 10, that diamond in the rough, talk about their vulnerability, their life, you know what I'm saying? And for the people that relate to it, I think hip hop now has become a popularity contest, you know what I'm saying? And I wanted to get back to real music, substance. Like, Meek just tweeted the other day, 2020 whack music will perish. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I felt that.
I'll tell you else what I felt, man.
Man, he is just putting it out there honestly. Like, we need to get back to the roots. We need to get back to vulnerability. We need to get back to real. And I've said it a long time. I feel like we're in a personality era here in our world instead of a character-driven era. A personality era is all about the image, is all about the flash and the flare. The character is about what's inside and whether we're really living lives of integrity. I think that's what he's talking about.
Man, I listened into the project of PTSD. You're sampling some of these classic hip-hop tunes. You open the track up with the Jay-Z Dynasty intro beat. Then I noticed you had Jadakiss Still Feel Me on Feelings, and you had Beanie Siegel Feeling the Air on Intuition. Like, was that intentional?
Yeah, of course it was intentional. I really want these hip-hop legends, icons that I looked up to know that I embrace them. Like, nowadays, the kids, average kid my age, they act like they don't even listen to none of that old stuff. They don't know who these people are. Like, they don't know the Rakims and the you know what I'm saying, the Pops, and they can't tell you a Nas album, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's important for me to be able to embrace that, because that's what I grew up on. That's what I appreciate. That's the reason why I did music, to be able to be in the room with these guys and be able to be considered like a top tier artist, an MC. You know what I'm saying? Not a rapper, an MC. Like, I'm an MC.
Feels like this is
He is really wise beyond his years. Oh, to have him on the podcast and do an interview with him. Anybody knows G Herbo, let me know, because I want to talk to him. He's got wisdom. He's got great experience in life, and he believes in mental health.
Something that's needed right now in hip hop. Like, what do you hope that PTSD does for the hip hop listener and for your peers in Chicago?
I hope PTSD wakes people up. Nothing in life is by coincidence, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, even going through the stuff that I went through, it strengthened my armor plate. I wouldn't be the man I am today. Like, I learned so much. I really grew into a man. I started doing music when I was 16 years old. And I felt like I was a man then, but I was still a boy. So I want people to really, like, wake up and fix your situation, because you're going through it for a reason. You know what I'm saying? No matter how messed up the situation may be. And I'm that kind of guy, like, you would probably get mad at me, because when you in a up situation, I would understand, but I won't probably have empathy for the situation, because everybody knows nothing you going through is too hard, too difficult. Somebody always going through worse than you, or
there's always somebody going through a worse situation. There's always somebody going through a better situation than you all the time.
The same thing you're going through, you know what I'm saying? And people have PTSD and don't know that they have it, you know what I'm saying? People don't know that they really suffer from a mental illness. That's why you don't want to do this. That's why you don't want to get in the car. That's why, you know what I'm saying? So I think the first step, understanding it, will help you, like, maneuver through life a lot better.
Wow. G Herbo talks PTSD. What a great interview. Incredible. I would love to talk to him more about that, because everything he said was so accurate. Getting help, shedding light on it, understanding where it comes from, knowing what to do about it now, all of these steps, and staying grounded and rooted in a good, healthy lifestyle. So important. I loved it. This is all mental health, and I think it matters. I hope everybody gets to see this and hear it and watch it again. Share it with people, because it does matter. But remember, this isn't real therapy. Just Tom break it down, lyrics to an interview or transcripts of an interview. If you want professional help, check the link in the description. Don't quit looking for mental health. It's out there, promise you. And keep watching these videos, keep journaling, keep listening to music, all those great things, because it does matter. Give me your comments, feedback, insight. I want to hear what you think. Go to our Discord server and chat more about G Herbo and PTSD over there with over 2,000 people. It's going strong. And don't forget to check YouTube memberships now and Patreon subscriptions. They are there with extra content, live streams, all kinds of cool stuff. Thank you so much for making Reaction Therapy what it is. And I can't wait to see you on the next Reaction Therapy.